And we're back, and boy, that is just excellent. I have to say, I love that movie, and it's no mistake that it's a classic. We're going to talk about what that means in a bit. Samuel Taylor wrote a hell of a movie. He wrote that script, and I can't believe it. It breaks my heart that he does this and Topaz. I mean, which is coming up, movie number 47, I guess. But you know, as mentioned in the pre-movie comments, Alfred Hitchcock did not enjoy working with Kim Novak and never gave her her due. I think she was fantastic in it. We've seen a number of Kim Novak movies. Wonderful, just fantastic. You know, they would fight on set. I mean, they would have arguments on set, and Alfred Hitchcock was quoted as saying, you know, can we not fight on set? I mean, why bring the electricians into our little troubles? But boy, it really is just one of those things that we'd love to debate what would have happened if you know, it had not been Kim Novak. So.
Well, I don't think Hitchcock would have gone with Kim Novak. She may not have even been a second choice. After initially not having the actress he wanted. So
yeah.
Kim Novak, being as stoic as she is in her roles, I think worked great for Madeline, and I think she did a phenomenal job playing Judy Barton. However, I think Grace Kelly would have added a certain spark, a certain vibrancy that Hitchcock had to pension. You know, he had that love for it anyway.
Yeah.
So had she not retired, Grace Kelly, I think, would have done that role.
Yeah, I mean, I think he found his Grace Kelly. No question. I think that he really probably would have done the rest of his career with Grace Kelly.
Well, you said Kim Novak plays Kim Novak, and she does that very well.
Yeah,
but she's not a chameleon.
And who knows? Yeah, no, and no, very good. And you know, the whole Vera Miles thing, it really, I don't see it. I mean, I've not really done my Vera Miles homework. You know, we've seen her on the Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and she's beautiful. And as the picture I'm looking up right now, boy, she looks an awful lot like Grace Kelly. And I don't know. We're never going to know. Who would have thought Kim Novak had this in her? But you know, it's just one of those things. You know, actually, Diane pointed out that it's perfect, because when Kim Novak is being Madeline, she's being Kim Novak, and when she's not, she's acting. And I don't know, it just
came across to me.
You like it?
Yeah.
I thought it came across to me that she was acting as Judy.
As Judy.
You know, it just,
which should
the
be
Judy
the opposite.
Barton character has so much
Yeah.
color and vibrancy, and hence the makeup was so much brighter and darker, and you know, the hair obviously was an obvious change, but her mannerisms, they had that almost animated feel to it, and her speech pattern. So Kim Novak is a good actress. We know that she is capable of that, but the fact that she was not given many roles like that begs the question, how versatile was she really?
Not that we've seen,
How likely was she chosen for this role?
And watch her in The Bell, the Book, and the Candle, because she's playing like Madeline. So, also with James Stewart. And you know, I wanted to say, you mentioned she was, hold on.
That's enough.
You know, you mentioned that, you know, the chameleon thing. I have a full confession to make. When I first saw Vertigo a long time ago, I didn't know who Kim Novak was. So the scene where Scotty finds her in that green dress and follows her up to her apartment, where we are right now, I didn't realize that was the same actress. I mean, when she starts writing that letter that she never sends to Scotty, that was the moment that I found out that it was Madeline. It's a little embarrassing. I might be the only one, but you were saying that.
No,
you knew it was Kim Novak.
No, I was saying that the first time I saw it, you know, God, what was I? 15 years old. So I thought that they were actresses that looked very similar. Yeah.
So that's good. Right now, audiences knew exactly who Kim Novak was. So,
back then,
but whatever, it's kind of a testament to how good she was. So, anyways, that's just me. But yeah, you know, it is a serious arguing point that people you know, they wonder, oh, it would have been so much better if it was Vera Miles, or you know, in her case, it would have been a lot better with Grace Kelly. We're never going to know, but we do know that it's certainly turned into this great movie. So
a lot of people love it.
It worked.
Now, with regards to the dresses and the hairdos, you know, it's just amazing how much art is imitating life, or vice versa. Because you know, you had Hitchcock arguing with Kim Novak, and they did, and Edith Head, you know, they had to make it so it was like Miss Novak, who may be watching the video, you know, she's read this too, that you know, they brought out color swatches and the different grays and help her pick out, because she was not going to wear that gray outfit. She was not going to do it. She didn't like other things, and boy, you know, it's just one of those things that we're just never going to know what that's all about. So James Stewart, this is his best role. You know, we've seen a ton of James Stewart movies.
Even over Rear Window.
Absolutely. You know, to me, although the part where he yells out when Grace Kelly's in trouble, you know, I love all of the James Stewart movies, but you know, you know, did he rehearse you? You know, did he dress you up? I mean, ironic, the irony of that, how ironic that is.
But it becomes very creepy.
Just fantastic. Tragically, no Best Actor nomination, no Best Actress nomination, no Best Picture, and that really brings us to something I have to say. If you don't know, this movie was not a critical success, and thereby not a financial success at the time.
Box office blooper.
Yeah, it wasn't a hit, you know, Alfred Hitchcock actually ended up taking that very hard. He thought he had a winner here, and he didn't. He blamed Kim Novak. He actually went and blamed James Stewart because audiences felt, you know, he's almost 50 and Kim Novak is 24, half his age, that he was maybe too old for this role. Well, then don't cast him in it. But he never worked again with James Stewart. They were still friends, of course. But, you know, it actually took until the 60s, and particularly the mid or the late 60s, where highly regarded film scholars and critics were starting to write about what a masterpiece this was. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the author, Joe Stefano, who got together with Hitchcock and told him what a masterpiece this was, and it actually moved Alfred Hitchcock to tears. So it's a big deal. So, you know, I will say though that he deliberately took this film and 4 others off the market, the Lost 5. Man Who Knew Too Much, Rear Window, Trouble with Harry, this one, I don't know, one of them in there, and I'm linking it up right now. And deliberately kept them away so audiences couldn't watch them on television. My parents joke about the time that every time they turned the TV on when they got together with their relatives, Torn Curtain was on. Like every time, it was on TV all the time in the 70s. Well, this was not, and it was re-released in 1983 in theaters. Did I say 83?
You did say
yeah.
83.
Re-released to home video because Betamax and VHS came out in 84. Well, he died in 1980, and it was a big deal in 83 and 84. And of course, you know, when it was remastered in 96 and it played to theaters across the United States, Canada, the world, it really started to find its place as, you know, the American Film Institute. It's in the top 10 greatest movies of all time. And Diane pointed out when we were thinking about this, well, wait a second, if audiences didn't get a chance to see it in the 70s, nobody said it was any good. He actually, dying in 1980, never knew what this movie was going to become. And we actually contacted a fellow who, he calls himself the Alfred Hitchcock geek, and he goes and speaks with film groups, and he's an expert on Alfred Hitchcock. He has a fantastic website that I'm linking up right now. I contacted him and asked him that very question, and he opened the question up to his Facebook followers, and it was quite a lively discussion. And the bottom line is, you know, he may not have cared, but like a lot of geniuses or masters, Vincent Van Gogh, or however we're pronouncing it. I mean, let's face it, as a painter, he never knew. He never knew. I mean, he died never knowing that he was going to become
And that's
Vincent.
not so uncommon with the arts, whether it be production like this or whether it be poetry. How many poets.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's important to understand that culture, society grows and evolves and then de-evolves, and there's a cyclical effect that happens with Hollywood, with art, with everything. And so when this movie was originally released, people weren't ready for it. We talk a lot about how the movie ended and how there was an alternate ending in Europe for that reason. We'll get there. But we talk about this because back then it was very frightening to have this kind of a film where there's so much is unsaid. And in my opinion, they do a lot of explaining in this movie that today I think is very unnecessary. Kind of takes away, detracts from the overall feel and the mood. But it does lend us to that little thing that says, well, when it was re-released in the 80s, people were ready for that. People were going home. It was a whole new generation, a whole new take. And then people were reintroduced, our parents and our grandparents' generations were reintroduced to this, what became a masterpiece. That's
right, yeah. Well, and there's a whole section on Wikipedia called the reevaluation of Psycho, or rather of this movie, of Vertigo. And what's interesting about what she just said, within that lively Facebook discussion, someone piped up and said, you know, I saw this in theaters in 1958. I didn't get it. And when he saw it again in 1984, it blew him away. So, I mean, that really does says it all. It says it all. It's amazing. So, tragic, but certainly commonplace. The Beatles knew they were big, though. They Now I wanted to talk about something really interesting about this movie. Now, staircases have been in a lot of the suspenseful parts of Hitchcock movies. They've been a staple of these scenes. I'm thinking Notorious, when Cary Grant is carrying Ingrid Bergman down the stairs. Even as recent as The Man Who Knew Too Much, with James Stewart coming down the stairs in that climax, one of the several climaxes in that movie. But tonight was no exception with James Stewart twice. I mean, the staircase being a plot device twice in this movie, climbing up the stairs and getting that effect. Well, you have to know, if you don't know already, when he was looking down and seeing that, that was achieved. They called that the Vertigo effect, or the Hitchcock effect. And he wanted to be able to do that for years. He wanted to be able to do something like that in Rebecca in 1940, and he just couldn't figure out a way to do it. Well, he and a second unit cameraman who worked at Paramount named Erman Roberts, Hitchcock developed it, Erman did it, they worked it together. They came up, which is now known as the dolly zoom, where you've got the camera on a dolly, in this case moving backwards, but the focus stays on the image. So you've got the image, but the whole perspective is freaking you out, giving you that. And it's so wonderful that it's used in many movies. He used it again, I think, in Marnie, but a great example of that, and I'm going to link it up down below, is Jaws. When Roy Scheider is on the beach and he realizes there's a shark out there and his children are out there, and that vertigo,
that's a lot farther away.
And it doesn't have to be with suspense either. Martin Scorsese, so Spielberg does it in Jaws. Martin Scorsese uses it in the great movie Goodfellas, in just a scene where Ray Liotta is talking with Robert De Niro, and they're just talking about things, and Ray Liotta is narrating the whole conversation, and you've got the vertigo effect coming out on them. They're just having a conversation. I'll link up that video as well on YouTube. So that's pretty cool. You know, I want to talk about the music. You know, no question. You know, you were saying the music in this is just dynamite. Based on Richard Wagner's Tristan and Isolde, you know, feel free to listen to that, because there are amazing similarities between this and that. I don't think we've got the same movie without the score.
No.
You know, there's no way. I mean,
no, it totally pulls the movie like throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
The cinematography is amazing, but
Yeah.
with just the cinematography, you know, it's just pretty colors and shapes. But
Yeah.
that music, that mood that comes through, it's just amazing.
well, and watch it without the sound. I mean, it's like that great scene in Suspicion, which I think was Franz Waxman, where you know, Joan Fontaine is driving in the car, and we like, God, the music is amazing, and we muted it, and it's like she's just driving a car. So you know,
A lot of driving scenes in this movie too.
And there are a lot of driving scenes
Same
in
thing.
Vertigo.
absolutely, and very long stretches with no dialogue.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, come on. So
Which
so
is
you
a
see-
bold move. That is a bold move.
Absolutely, yeah. So maybe that's one of the reasons that audiences found it slow moving. I don't know. I didn't. So the watchability of this thing, I could watch it over and over. I really could. I don't know how many times I've seen it, but it's a lot. So it baffled audiences in 1958, and that's going to be okay. So boy, it certainly had a charming villain. In fact, Gavin Elster was so charming that you might have even forgot by the end of the movie that he was the bad guy.
And he got away with it.
And he got away with it because
Dark for 1958, right?
they're illegal. I mean, with the Hays Production Code, that was one of the many things that was a no-no. That you had to leave.
So how did he get there? How did he get it passed? Were they
That's
just
right.
paying attention?
And more importantly, why did they bother him with the stuff in other movies that wasn't nearly as bad? I mean, the bad guy got away.
It remains even more mystery than the icebox scenes.
Absolutely, yeah. And Andrea was saying that you know, for European distribution, they actually had to tack on an ending where Midge is back in her apartment. I'll link that up on YouTube way down here, where she's actually listening to the radio, and they think they know he's in Europe, and the authorities are saying, once we catch him, it's going to be no problem to extradite him back to the States. Diane keeps pointing out, well, that's not a resolution, that's not a happy ending, but whatever.
But it
had to
does
do
give
that.
the illusion of the
Yep.
bad guy doesn't get away with it, when we know in reality,
Yep.
in the original ending, well,
He might have,
Absolutely.
but you know that James Stewart's character, Scotty, was a cop.
Yeah.
And he knows what happens now.
Yeah.
So he, even without that ending, you can kind of do the math and think he's going to figure it out.
Maybe that's why. Maybe the censors were more concerned with, you know, the fact that you know, you've got this police officer killing someone at least once accidentally, and boy.
Yeah.
And, you know, you talk about the Wrong Man theme, or wrongfully accused, and injustices we saw in last week's The Wrong Man movie. Boy, how about that Inquisition? Sorry, Scotty, that was rough. When they're telling him,
Well, we'll let it happen.
You know, yeah, exactly.
was it an Inquisition? It felt more like a session of just
Bashing.
beratement.
Let's beat up Scotty.
You killed your partner. I didn't make him reach down for me.
Exactly.
I didn't even yell for help.
I know.
Really, you know, it was one of those.
It's rough. Now, Andrea had something to say about that, exactly that icebox thing, with particular McKittrick Hotel scene.
Yeah, so when everybody talks about the original icebox scene, if you want to go ahead and give...
So the icebox scene, a lot of you might not know. So Alfred Hitchcock was quoted saying, the icebox scene is when the hypothetical viewer goes home and it hits them when they're pulling the chicken out of the icebox.
That's when the scene really goes, whoa, what was going on there?
And this is the scene.
So the scene that we're referring to, everybody talks about the icebox scene of how did Kim Novak's character, Madeline, get out of the hotel? We see her go in. It's obvious she's up there in the window. She pulls the drapes, and James Stewart's character walks straight in. I mean, there's not a lot of leeway time there. And for all we know, there's one entrance, one exit, maybe a back door. But how does she get down that main staircase?
Was the hotel clerk in on it?
Right.
I mean,
yeah, but that older
it
lady seemed aloof and kind of confused. She likes to oil her plant. That seems really
so there is no resolution, and Hitchcock said, "Yeah, I know there's no resolution.
And that
Don't
was
worry
his
about
point.
it." In fact, as we were talking about as well, do not pull at the threads of Vertigo.
No.
It's not worthwhile. It's dumb.
Well, it's a story.
It's a story.
It's a story.
One of the scenes that really bugged me is the opening scene.
That's the icebox scene that
For
nobody
me,
really talks about.
He's hanging from a gutter 8 stories above San Francisco Street.
Yes.
How did he get up? I'm
They
a
don't
pretty
ever
strong
talk
guy. I
about
can't
how
hold
he's
on a
rescued.
pipe for 5 hours.
He had to wear a corset because he.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't
so
talk about how he got injured. At no point do we
Exactly.
see him hanging from one arm.
Did he
or
fall
falling.
and land on his partner and he lived?
So it's another one of those, you just gotta let it go and move on with the story.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
weren't you saying that some people were saying that there's a chance that it was a dream sequence for the whole movie type thing?
Yeah.
It's all in his mind?
Yep. Or like the moment after what he believes Madeline commits suicide by jumping off the tower that wasn't there, and we'll get into locations in a second, that perhaps everything that occurred after that, the whole Judy business, was actually in James Stewart's mind and
Yeah.
whatever. But
That's just an opinion.
we went to some cool locations today, and we wanted, he's suffering from acute melancholy with a severe guilt.
Well,
Something.
isn't that just
He's
indicative
really,
of
really
the time
sad.
to hear a diagnosis
Well, it's
like
actually-
that in a movie?
I Wikipedia'd it, it's just despondency and depression, but no, acute. No, he's
Melancholy.
really, really sad.
This is why he
So,
can't
a very small area.
verbalize.
Listen, we went to some locations today because, as I mentioned, we were in San Francisco. We're staying in the hotel that Judy's apartment was in, the MLR hotel, and it's now called the Vertigo Hotel, and it's really neat. The chairs we're sitting on are all Vertigo, and it's pretty cool. But we did go to some pretty cool locations today as well. And we're gonna link up some pictures that we went to. We went to Sky's apartment, which is on Lombard Street, just after the
900
Kirby
Lombard, right at the end.
900 Lombard.
Beautiful.
We went to Madeline and Gavin's apartment, right at the top where the Mark Hopkins Hotel is in the Fairmont, on Nob Hill or whatever it is.
Looks exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. It's cool. And Gavin's club. There's no Jag. Yeah,
There's no Jag's
Green
gone.
Jag
No
is gone.
Jag. More
so,
Hondas. More Hondas.
we meant to go to San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, Fort Point,
Point,
but it was
yeah.
too trafficy, so
Yeah.
we didn't get there. But and here we are at that hotel. So pretty cool. There's a whole Vertigo tour.
Staying in the Scotty room.
It's called the Scotty Room. So room 401 is the one that they actually filmed it, and we'll show you. We're linking up pictures right now of what it looked like then. and what
Judy
it looks like.
Barton's apartment.
Judy Barton's apartment, exactly. So now we had some other things we wanted to talk about. I don't know if did we cover it? Did we?
So the only thing I think at the end is I think there's good discussion about the very last scene.
Yeah, what
They've
happened?
confronted one another. Scotty and Judy, he knows what happened, she knows that he's onto her, and they have this very intense moment in the bell tower. And it's so pivotal because then you see this reuniting between them amongst all this chaos, amongst all this emotional anarchy. Suddenly, they're reunited and they're embracing.
It seems like the same kiss that happened in the stable.
Yes.
So it's like it's there. They're back. They're good to go.
However, she spent this entire... Judy played Madeline for so long, and she played a woman who supposedly is being haunted by Carlotta, and haunted by death, and just as if she was destined to have the same fate as her great-grandmother. And I find it very intriguing that Judy herself ends up falling to the same fate as the woman that she played. For however many weeks or months that she endured this relationship with Scotty in order to have the end result, of course. And I can't help but wonder if perhaps there was supposed to be an inference of a spiritual element there, where perhaps she became, whether it was mentally haunted, spiritually haunted, but some kind of, because when the nun comes up, it's frightening.
Scary scene.
Yeah.
It is
amazing.
frightening.
Yep.
But was she frightened off,
Her
or was
voice
she
is-
running off, or was she throwing herself off because she felt she had nowhere else to go? She could not run from her fate any longer. I mean, did she believe she was Madeline?
Right.
Was there a part of her that really?
Well, she pulled off Madeline, that's for sure.
Yeah.
She did?
Certainly was. So yeah,
Okay.
it's what makes this movie hugely watchable. Again.
So here's a question.
Hmm.
Did the viewer ever actually see Madeline?
No.
Never, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Well, her dead body was thrown down.
Right,
Yeah,
But
so-
never
this-
actually
we
see the
talked about
face.
this
Yeah.
during the movie.
No. I think she looked a lot like Kim Novak because
Well, she was too.
she better. But
But it is
yeah,
an interesting thing that we never meet Madeline.
Never
Yeah.
meet the real Madeline.
We never do.
In scene, you just meet a person playing her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Pretty
Brilliant.
Good. Did you have any more little notes to,
No,
to
I
say?
think,
Good. You know, I just wanted to wrap up 1958. Oh,
San Juan Batista. Never talked about it.
that's true. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nope.
I don't know anything about it. It's,
Okay.
you can go down there and you can see the where the stable was. It's probably pretty eerie. There's just no tower there.
Yeah,
because-
they painted it on a
Yeah.
matte screen.
It never existed.
Which for the most part, except for the first time you see it, you can't really tell. I mean, the
No.
first time Diane's like, oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that's
you can
totally
tell
good.
like the clouds aren't moving. That's really
pretty good. Right?
It is. It's
Yeah,
really
so,
well done.
So yeah, and I'm also going to link up a website called realsf.com, and boy, this guy's gone to great lengths to recreate these pictures, what they look like today. So go to that. So okay, so good. So we'll wrap up 1958. The film that won Best Picture in 1958 was called Gigi, starring Leslie Caron and the bad guy from Paradine Case, whose name escapes me right now. I can't think of it, but it's okay. Another great movie from 1958 is I Want to Live with Susan Hayward. Great movie, fantastic music score for that. That's a fantastic movie. As I mentioned, Bell, Book and Candle is released in the same year, December of 1958, starring James Stewart and Kim Novak playing Madeline.
Right.
And she plays a
Not
witch.
really.
She plays a witch in Greenwich Village. So so good. That's it. So we're cool. Nothing else to say. Great.
Have anything more?
No, that was no,
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank our special guests for being on the show. It's
Thank you, guys.
a lot of fun. We have a lot of activities planned for tonight in San Francisco. So great. So we're looking forward to next week's movie, number 41. 41. North by Northwest. Cary Grant's last film for Alfred Hitchcock. So from our orange chairs to your couch, we will see you next week. Bye. All right, 15 seconds. Right. So,
I liked it better the other way. And we're back. We don't need
actually,
Jeff.
we're
We
gonna
got-
get into